The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and they get.
He missed the pit complete. That is crazy
As I
stuff.
said, Freitas is on the grass on the infield before. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
They hail from around the globe, and though separated by oceans, they gather in the virtual world for reasons as varied as their locales. Whether it's a defending champion looking to retain his title, a new and eager hopeful driving for recognition, or a legend prepared to recapture past glory, in the end, the one goal they all share is to win. But when naming a victor, only one driver's name can be etched into the record books. You're watching the Heusinkveld MX-5 World Tour.
The first of two trips to a very familiar place means for the first of these trips, we are going cross-country instead of cross-continent. The first half of the season, which has instigated a lot of challenge and intrigue, is here. Brands Hatch Grand Prix layout for the Heusinkveld MX-5 World Tour on iRacing Live and Global SimRacing channel is here at long last. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Tidal Influence Countdown to Green and pre-race coverage of some of the closest battles without ever truly knowing who will come into play and win at the very end. I am your lovable host for this evening's action, Mr. Do You Mind himself, Jake Sperry, critiquing and dissecting the action on display this evening. Joined alongside me, as ever, is the man who has seen all, done all, and been all. It is the omnipotent broadcaster, Bill Soupzan. Joe Peak will be more than just on the top of Hawthorne Hill, as he will be directing the cameras created by the man who shall be named Dougie Beard. Soup, Brands Hatch is the racer's circuit. It is full of elevation changes and a number of corners unique to racing, while at the same time, it creates an unforgettable aura around the venue. How good is Brands Hatch for the drivers, and how daunting is it for the newcomers?
Let me tell you about it. Before I do that, remember that everything here on the Countdown to Green is brought to you thanks to Tidal Influence, an ecological consulting firm based in Long Beach, California, that restores wetlands, saves and studies endangered species, and educates children about our environment. For more information, go to TidalInfluence.com. Okay. Brands Hatch is in Sperryland, West Kingsdown in Kent, England, originally used as a military training ground. The first actual race on these grounds was held in 1926, over 6.4 kilometers between cyclists and cross-country runners. This place hosted 12 runnings of the British Grand Prix between 64 and 86. For me, I remember it starring in my favorite racing movie, Grand Prix. The last time the MWT was at Brands Hatch was round 5 of season 11. The series' legendary star, Jan Koemans, picked up the final of his 41 career wins that day. Current drivers, Patrick Bliss came in 4th, just ahead of Sonny Ketchen in 5th. Robert Hartley came in 7th. Now, iRacing offers 2 configurations of Brands Hatch, the shorter Indy circuit and the full Grand Prix course, and this season the MWT will visit them both. Today it's the longer but still very much narrow 3.7 kilometers. That's about 2.3 miles for those of us who are metrically challenged. 9 turns here on the Grand Prix layout. Lots of elevations, but very narrow. But the best way to get an idea of what this place is like, let's jump on board and take a lap.
Alright, we're in the GSRC MX-5, so let's do a lap around Brands Hatch. Paddock Hill Bend has one of the trickiest entries in all of racing with the curved braking and blind crest. It's incredibly hard to hit the apex, but after that, you can be really confident with the power because of the incredible compression at the bottom of the hill. Then you've got pretty much the only good place to pass on the track with Druids. This is your typical 180-degree hairpin, which means it's best to try to square off the exit. As you come back downhill, you've got to line up Graham Hill Bend. You'll notice you can use up all the AstroTurf on the exit, and that's really an important way to carry your momentum off of many of these corners. You'll get a short breather now that you're at the bottom of the amphitheater, but then comes another difficult braking zone with Surtees. Once again, the track curves while you're trying to slow up the car, making it tough to be accurate and stable. But the exit is extremely important because it's a steep climb uphill, and then the fastest straight on the track that you're thrown onto. Because of that, the draft might reel the car behind you in, but don't expect them to have an easy pass. Hawthorne is frighteningly fast, and there's almost no braking coming into this sweeper. Now we're into the back half of the course, which kicks off with Westfield. It's easy for the car to get loose through here, and you can expect to see a few drivers oversteer their way into the Armco when the slide passes the point of no return. We'll fly through Dingledale, and then you've got this scary trip through Sheen. The blind nature makes this all about muscle memory. Shortly after, you're braking for Sterling. Don't be afraid to get greedy on the inside curb and get hard on the gas well before the apex of this high cambered curve. You've now got one last brake on the run up to Clearways. And despite the decent straight, because there isn't much braking into this right-hander, it's very tough to pass. Watch out for the understeer after the crest because the car loves to slither off into the grass. As you power your way back up the curved climb of the Brabham Straight, you've now hopefully completed a lap around Brands Hatch.
The GSRC MX-5 there having a day out amongst the trees, and a day where the GSRC machine shines just that little bit brighter. But from Brands Hatch, back-to-back Blighty it is today, as Snetterton was our home of operations a few weeks ago. But just how much change did we see from a memorable 5-star classic suit?
Well, there are leagues with simple scoring systems. There are leagues with more complex scoring systems. One thing in common with any, if you win 4 out of your first 5 races, you're going to have a pretty secure points lead. Such is the case for Sonny Kenshin. Now, the only other driver to earn a win this season is Robert Hartley, who sits in 3rd. He's just behind the defending champion, the Roland Estonian Aero Num, who is now triple digits plus out of the lead. Patrick Fliss was best of all the active drivers last time the series came to Brands Hatch. Travis Swenke's best result was a 4th place at Donington way back in round 2. There was a lot of preseason chatter about the lack of Scandinavian presence in the Season 14 campaign. Those fears have been put to rest with the sudden emergence of the series' top rookie, Tom Eric the Red Ball. He's been fast in each of his 3 entered events, including a 3rd place in last round. Right behind Ball are 2 more rookies, Canada's Richard Worth and Stilian Chevaleski, hailing from Germany. Veterans Dries Nice and the Bay State Hammer Tom Ratchy round out the overlay. Moving to the amateur driver standings, Kip Stevens sits 16th overall, but leads the AM standings by a mere 7 points over Belgium's Gianni Quintilier, who moves up a spot. Another big mover is Lorne Murray. The Scot had his best scoring day last round. Andy Gooderson falls 2 spots down to 4th. Jonathan Boutel holds station at 6th. And Jeroen Ursum clings to the final overlay spot. Jake, we have 58 drivers who have raced so far this season. 21 drivers have entered every event. That's a pretty strong percentage.
It is a very strong percentage, and I'm sure Tom Erifvol will be very happy after your displays with the graphics there, Suit. But a lot of consistent factors go into title-winning positions, and the only way you can be in a title-winning position is through the consistency of following the rules there to backwards and forwards, everything a few. But Soup, no matter where we go, someone somewhere has a well to take the water from.
Okay, so let's go ahead. If you're a long-time viewer, take this opportunity to go get, like I said last time when we were eating us, a bowl of strawberries and cream. For the new viewers, pay attention. Schedule. We're just finishing up the first half of our 12-round schedule here, so we're on round 6. There's no drop races. I talk about this every time. There is something called the no-show compensation. You can use it 3 times. If a driver misses a race, he's compensated. He or she is compensated with points equal to a percentage of that driver's average finish. Setups. Now, open with reduced fuel cells, forcing everyone to stop and read once. Now, again, for first-time viewers, I'll touch on this point. 30% does not mean that the drivers start with a showroom-sized fuel tank that is only 30% filled. No. What it means is their fuel tanks are tiny, just 13.6 liters. That's 30% of normal. Today, that means the drivers need to burn at least 6 liters of fuel before the tank becomes empty enough to refill and complete the 26 laps of racing that is on the schedule. Pit window should be somewhere between 8 and 17 laps. Now, 6 liters takes about 13 and a half seconds to fill. Changing 2 tires takes about 11 seconds. Look for most of the drivers to make that 2-tire change. Fast repairs, MWT has always been a you break it, you bought it league. This is big boy racing. No fast repairs today. And there is no incident cap, but there is something that they chart where it's miles per incident. Sitting at the top of that chart right now, this is really a missed opportunity that we need to talk about a lot. This chart is worth 1 race in value. It's almost like a 13th race. Right now, rookie Lorne Murray sits at the top of the chart, just ahead of 3-time reigning clean driver champion Tripp, the Aerosmith, the Aerofly straight and true once again in season 14. Tom Eric the Red Balls, and I apologize for spelling his name wrong for the graphic guys having that in the graphic. We'll get that fixed up next week. He sits 3rd in the chart. Jake?
He certainly does, and of course track conditions today, 20 in the air, 25 on the track. It's quite cold here on a late afternoon with a heavy southeast wind at 18 kilometers an hour, 19 kilometers an hour or so. That's heading a tailwind through Paddock Hill Bend in towards Druids, and that is a crosswind front the top straight. Kanchin currently untouched in qualifying, 37.1, the 59 making the drive on his second and last lap to the line. He does not improve that lap time though, so he's hoping that everybody else can't improve any further. Marcelo Pajnan in the 75, currently position number 4 in the Thrustmaster Movano vehicle, making that final drive to the line. 137.3, jumps up onto the second row still, but is only a +1 position overall. And here comes GSRC's very own Richard Losper driving to line. 38.2, his quickest so far. 37.7, much better. 8th position overall, Sue.
You talked about Pajan. He's a veteran of the series, but hasn't raced much this season, only making one attempt. The Italian driver is currently sitting 3rd on the qualifying right now. Qualifying really important here at Brands Hatch. With this track being so narrow, passing is at a premium, so you don't want to find yourself too far back on the grid because it's hard to make up ground here.
It is certainly hard to make up ground. Also back in the series after a very rare race ban that we've seen is Cesare Rizzo in the 47. He hasn't set a lap time as of yet, but he will make his charge over to the start-finish line to hopefully set himself back in good stead in this event. 39.2, that's good enough for the 12th row there, position 24. I think he can be very happy with that. He shares the row with Sarah Dove, a debutant then of this series here. Super, of course, we know Sarah Dove very well from the AOR leagues.
Sarah Dove coming off an amazing run just yesterday in the AOR, where she finished 2nd in the sprint race. If you have a chance to catch that one, if you didn't catch it, go ahead onto our YouTube channel and see if you can win that. It was one exciting race where we actually had one driver finish the race full speed going backwards. Very exciting ending to that one. You don't want to miss it. Glad to welcome Sarah over to the MWT.
There's 2 drivers who have yet to set a lap time or yet to finish their lap times. One of them is the number 5 machine of Richard Worth. Money. Richard Worth, I think we can name him here, Soup, because
I like that.
He's looking to try and make himself money. Into the right-hander he goes of Clearways. This final corner, some say it's the Jim Clark curve. 2 to 1 is the same thing, but it's a slow drawl over to the line. It's not going to be another lap time sorted. As things stand, everybody has completed their 2 laps. So what we will do in this situation right now is we are going to take you to what I would like to call the Heusinkveld starting grid. Heusinkveld offers a broad array of products and services, including advanced vehicle simulation software and hardware, and sponsors on practically every major team in sim racing today. If you're looking for an edge in racing, get in touch today at heusinkveld.com. And well, it doesn't matter where you go in the world, some things sometimes have to be the same. And Sonny Kanchin on the pole, 137.171. He's joined by Tom Eric, the Red Vol, there in 2nd position, with Marcelo Pajnan in 3rd and Money Richard Worth in 4th position. Brian Holmes will start 5th with Iru Nom of Team Bushfink Racing in 6th position. Gianni Quintelier, P7 for an amateur, stunning qualifying by his respectiveness, with Tom Ratji, the Bay State Hammer, in 8th, Losper, our very own, in 9th, and Alexander Lauritsen rounds out the top 10.
You can just feel the season start to get to Quintelier. In 11th spot, it is Nick Thiessen, Robert Valenga right behind him. Noel Lumberg and Travis Swanky. Swanky way down to 14th, make up the next row. Patrick Fliss, another slow qualifying for him. Scott Brazier in 16th position. 17th and 18th goes to Steve Hetford and Alexander Delahaye. The next row is filled up by Lauren Murray, flanked by Neil Bambi Bamber.
He certainly is, and Black Jack goes to Atsushi Maeda, the Japanese driver. Yordi Fike, double deuce with row 12. Sarah Dove, the debutant, and Cesare Rizzo back from exile. Michael Wright in 25th with Nicholas Jali in 26th position. And then following on from that, you have the likes of Derek Holland and Billy Bob Wright. Max Wright, the 3rd right inside the top 30, with Lee Deemer there in 30th overall.
Mark King back in the title influence car, sitting in 31st position. Jonathan Boutel, the French driver, in 32nd. Ludwig Sauer and Joe McDonald make up the next row. 35th and 36th go to George Dankirk. And Trip Errol Smith Jeroen Ursum in 37th position, Hal Heidenbeek-Heiden in 38th, 39th and 40th, Pavel Herman, and then Richard Stevenson, 40th, did not put in a qualifying time.
Well, that is surprising to see Pavel Herman so far down as a pro licensed driver. A 143.8 is about 6.7 seconds off of pole position, so 6.7 seconds is going to be very difficult. And Jonathan Boutel in the position of what is 32nd, saying it's his birthday tomorrow, so he's hoping to get a nice birthday treat out of racing here this evening. But it does not matter where you start, it only matters where you finish. It is 2 minutes to get yourself gridded up before you start on the dreaded place known as pit road. 26 laps worth of action. There or thereabouts, we're looking towards an hour's worth of racing, and already a pit penalty as part of returning to the league for Cesare Rizzo. He has to be very careful now. He is pretty much on his last legs as things stand. But Sonny Kanchin will be happy here, heading towards Paddock Hill Bend, turn number 1, the big downhill right-hander. It is possible, though, to sling it around the outside, and with the nature of a sloped starting grid, Tom Erik Voll will have that opportunity to use the banking to his advantage in towards that opening corner. It all depends on how the best start is. Watch out for Iru Nom. Try and make waves through the field. He needs to stay in the title picture, which Sonny Kanchin has had an iron fist grip over all this season, the Australian driver. But now is not the time for talking. Now is the time for waiting. And now is the time for action for these Warriors. Green flag flies, and we are underway, and the vehicle is not off the start at all, completely caught unawares. I believe that is Brian Holmes who got caught up. Is it? No, it's Marcello Pagnan who just completely missed the start and drops 6, 7, 8 positions. Kanchin all right through that, and fortunately enough, there is no contact from anyone else in that situation. Pagnan, I don't know whether he's had any tablets to keep him awake or not, but someone's had a bit too much night nurse here today, Soup.
A little too much heavy cheese in Italy. Boy, there's a little bit of a bang up as they go through Druids. Everything's okay, though. All the drivers still going straight.
Everyone going straight in the early goings. No real worries through Graham Hill Bend, turn number 3, out on circuit. And everyone survives by the skin of their teeth. But Sonny Kanchin at the front of the field, looking to break away from Tom Erik Voll. Richard Worth Money up into 3rd. Iru Nom already up into 4th position, taking advantage of Brian Holmes as well in the early goings. But someone who's dropped back is Gianni Quintelier, the leading amateur. He's dropped back a couple of positions of his own, now under pressure from Losper just behind, with his train Schwenke, Weilinga, Lumberg, Fliss and Hefford going side by side. Hefford to the inside as they head to Westfield Bend.
Might have been a little bit of culture shock for Quintelier racing up there with the big boys. He doesn't want to cause the trouble, just trying to be careful right now.
Certainly is being careful, and Hefford still side by side as well. It's got Brazier trying to get through and throws the block, and Hefford almost into the side of the driver of Anthony Delahaye. Delahaye will now drop a position potentially to Lorne Murray, who will go side by side into the final corner of the Jim Clark curve. And there's a vehicle off, and that's Iru Nom at the final corner on the opening lap. He gets away with it, will dive down onto the lane. Just get a look then at exactly what happened, and it was contact with Brian Holmes. Holmes just tagging the rear left, and that's enough to send Iru Nom into a world of issues.
Yeah, Nom was qualified way back in 6th position. He was trying to make up the ground, had picked up a spot, but this is not going to help him.
It's not going to help at all, but right now, if your name starts with Iro and ends in Nom, he's down on the lane early, makes a stop, gets damage repaired and gets going again. But this will have to come into compensation points, you would feel, in this series, Soup, after a disaster start for him.
Yeah, well, everything that happens counts, so this is going to bring down his average. He's not going to be able to drop it. It's one of the features of the MWT. Look at that battle going on. That's Tom Ratchey. How about that from the Bay State having a great run right now? He's in that battle. He's on the outside there, on the inside, fighting with Lawrence. Ooh, my goodness, they get it worked out.
They get it worked out lovely. The blue flag racing driver of Alexander Lauritsen making sure that he makes positions as he just munches his way through up inside the top 5. And this is a driver who at Lime Rock was nowhere and got to somewhere as well. Tom Ratchey now under pressure. Marcello Pagnan trying to get back through. Nick Nisson on the wings of an angel, you could say, right now, just trying to run in the coattails in these early stages. So already what we're starting to see is a few packs starting to form. It's a train of 3 at the front, and the next up for Lauritsen is Brian Holmes, about 0.8 of a second clear.
As we ride on board with, we're looking at Pajan there. Remember, he qualified well up and had that horrible start where he didn't get going. Trying to make his way back. He's got to get around the Bay State Hammer. Then he's got Alexander Lawrenson in front of him. Great battling going on there. But yeah, the top 3 are beginning to pull away. Money's trying to do his very best to hang on to Worth and Katchen. I guess Quintelier has trouble.
Issues.
Right,
yeah,
right
Gianni Quintelier.
Richard lost for woo!
That was a big moment for Quintelier, just getting all shades of loose down Paddock Hill Bend. Lucky that everyone was managing to track that wide line and miss it. And as such, another vehicle's actually gone off just after Druids there. I'm having a look. I think it's Law Murray. It is. And that's going to be affecting him in what is going to be here, Soup. I believe the Clean Driver Award or the Clean Driver points.
Yeah, he can only stay clean for so long. That's going to cost him. That's going to bring down his average. Bad news for him. Good news for Tripp Smith, though, as he sits second on that chart.
And here's the replay of what happened to Law Murray into Druids, right-hander, coming out of Druids, then trying to get this good run. And, well, it just seemed to me that he just got a little bit on the grass, too greedy on the power, and round he goes. And where he stops, not many more people will get a chance to know in this event. But there's been a lot of shaking here of the drivers up and down this field, but the battle at the front remains the same. Kanchin leads, Vol the red in second, and Money Richard Worth in third position overall. And right now, Richard Worth just sitting in the catbird seat, not willing to get involved in this early stage, but Tom-Erik Vol, he has what is I like to call a run.
And we don't need, and we're going to look at a replay now on Michael Wright, as he's had an issue as well. I haven't seen it, so I'll be watching it with you for the first time. Who is that he gets? Oh, he just looks like he tried to keep it off of that yellow car.
He does, and that's a moment, but Kanchin defending hard for his life at the front of the field. If we can go back live to this, because Tom-Erik Vol tried around the outside of Paddock Hill, around the outside of Druids. If he held it around the outside of Druids, he'd have the inside for Graham Hill Bend, and it just didn't quite happen.
Just to follow up on that last replay, that was Quintelier, the amateur that he stayed off of. We don't need to go there. Just to update you that Aero Num is back out now, racing in 38th position, 36 seconds behind the leaders. Every point counts.
Every little helps is a mantra of a supermarket in the United Kingdom called Tesco. So there's a bit of realism involved in that. Tom-Erik Vol still hoping to get past Sonny Kanchin as quickly as he can. Marcello Pagnan, though, battle going on with the Bay State Hammer, Tom Ratji. And Ratji right now, look how close Marcello Pagnan is following through this section. Dingle Dell now to the Sheen Curve, the blind right-hander, no chance of making a move. Now into Sterling's Bend, the penultimate corner, no chance yet, but it's all about setting up a run here at the Circuit of Brands Hatch. You're not going to get massive drafting opportunities.
For those talent challenged like myself, Sheen, one of the hardest corners for me to figure out as they head now down into Clark's Curve, going to complete lap number 4, working lap number 5.
Working lap number 5, and another chance for Tom-Erik Vol, maybe in towards Paddock Hill Bend, turn number 1. He thinks about making the move. He backs out of it, though, in comparison to Sonny Kanchin, which was a very good move. But there's one thing getting past Sonny Kanchin. The other thing is out-strategizing Sonny Kanchin. He is so good at saving that fuel.
Don't know how he can be so fast and also be so light on the fuel pedal as well. Worth beginning to distance himself now. It's really becoming a 3-car race, as we mentioned earlier. Almost 1.5 seconds back to Brian Holmes, who's doing his very best to bring Alexander Lawrenson along with him as they race in 4th and 5th.
Great battle, though, going on right down the field. Billy Bob Wright in position 19, plus 9 so far in this race, has Pavel Herman, who started at the back, now up into 21st at Sushi Maeda, Nicola Gali, and also Max Wright in that big group that we're seeing. This train of 5 behind Gianni Quintelier as well, just in front of that. And Billy Bob Wright having a lot of pressure now from Pavel Herman behind. Herman clearly has a lot of firecrackers under his bonnet.
Herman, the hard charger so far, you mentioned it, 39 up to 21st, 18 spots, and has more in mind.
Has a lot more in mind as they head their way in towards the series of right-handers that just show up again and again out on circuit. Billy Bob Wright again under pressure now as Herman tries to get a good run out of Westfield. The run down Dingledale up to Sheen Curve, has the inside line and takes the position. No, he shoves both of them out in towards the gravel. They hold it both together. And there was a big check-up from Atsushi Maeda, who was not confident enough to make the move there, Soup.
Some great racing going back here in the mid-pack.
Absolutely. Great racing indeed, but the front Kanchin defensive into Druids yet again. He's not comfortable with Tom Eric Vol, who was the fastest man in practice on the 37 flat. I think Vol just didn't deliver it here today, Soup, in qualifying. And if they're not careful, if there's more defensive work, Holmes and Lauritsen are closing in very ominously.
Vol might be thinking there's no reason to get out in front of you and burn more fuel. If I can't get around you on the track, maybe I can sit back here, save a little bit, and be a little faster in the pit box. Oh, man, that's a tall order, though, to try to beat Ketchum when it comes to pit stops.
And Pajnan around at the corner of Surtees' corner there. He was already through on the base state hammer of Tom Ratchey. Too aggressive on the power, and round he goes. And round goes Marcelo Pajnan, and dropping a multitude of positions, now down to 13th.
He had just made the pass on Ratchey, took the car in really hot to get the pass made, couldn't get it wound up, spun right in front of Tom. Tom did a good job getting on the binders, staying out of them.
Staying out of it, but now under pressure from Nick Thyssen in the 15 machine, the pro driver who's had a little bit of bad luck this season in the Gathering and Tweakers machine that he has going on. Well, gets a good run out of Sterling's Bend, the run now to the final corner of the Jim Clark curve. He looks to the inside of the Bay State Hammer, but not enough drive to make that happen. But what we have been seeing with the crosswind is that draft has been really influential. Here comes Vol again to the outside.
Yeah, now that's catching, not really taking the defensive line, just protecting the inside early. Then he comes across. I don't think Vol is, it's hard to say if he's really, how much he really wants that lead right now, if he's just being annoying back there.
Well, being annoying, we've seen a couple of chinks in the Kanchin armour, mainly in corners which are long and 180 degrees or longer.
Yeah.
So that's been where we've seen it. We saw it at Phillip Island. We saw it also at Snetterton. It could very well happen again at a corner like Druids if he's not careful.
And you talked about it. Look at all the horseplay going on between those two leaders. That has allowed Brian Holmes and Alexander Lauritsen to get in there now. Our 3-car train is now a legitimate 5-car train.
It certainly is. So now position moving is of the essence. Fliss versus Lundberg, though. A battle between the Blue Flag Racing driver and also the 88. Lundberg's lost the position on this lap. This is the battle for 9th and 10th. Out on circuit, and well, Patrick Fliss looking to try and secure +6 as things stands and gets it without any worries at all. Very good job, and the leading amateur there of Robert Weilinger just behind as well. It is worth noting, I don't see a Kip Stevens in this field today. He will take compensation points for the amateur championship.
He'll need to use those ones. How about we drop in real quick on Jordy Fike? He's our second best amateur, racing in 14th position, just ahead of Stephen Hefford. Also in that mix is Bambi back there in 6th position, and Sarah Dove, a nice little 4-car train starting at 14th.
And very nice little train starting at 14th and hoping to hold the positions that we continuously see out on circuit. But again, leading 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and maybe Lauritsen struggling a little bit to stay with the pace that is being produced at the front. Defensive into Druids they all go. You can definitely send one down the inside. The circuit made famous for the finales, the British Touring Car Championship, of course won by an iRacer in its own right of Ashley Sutton. So there is a lot of heritage in sim racing with Brands Hatch.
Jake, I think it's a great observation. I think Lauritsen doing his very best to hang on to those 4 guys who might be faster. Now, my calculations, lap 8 is the opening part of the window, so some of these guys may want to come in, but I just don't see any of the leaders coming in right now while they have this good pace. If they take a pit now, they're going to come back and have to deal with some of the guys that are farther back. Look for everybody to run as long as they can until traffic becomes a factor.
And Hefford through on Jordy Fike, so Jordy will have to find a different way to try and keep himself in battles in the field, as I'm still keeping my eye out here on all these little scraps that go on. Ratchey, though, and Thiessen have another little friend, and he's just keeping swimming right now in the battle for 6th. Yes, that's right. Here's Travis Schwenke wanting to gain some oh-so-crucial positions.
Yeah, with Pajan out of the picture now that was in that battle, Rathley was all by himself. Now he's been chased down by Thyssen and Schwenke. Schwenke, horrible qualifying in 14th position. He's a way faster driver than that qualifying would dictate. Look, though, as Thyssen trying to find his way around. Rathley protected the inside, and that means he had to have a wide exit. Thyssen now side by side as they head down the main street. I would think that Thyssen in the preferred position should be able to get this done.
And side by side for the lead as well, but Tom-Erik Voll runs wide. He won't have a chance to hold on to it. Side by side it is still, but the Bay State Hammer will lose one to Nick Thyssen, but he'll try and come back down the inside of Druids, and I think he'll just about have the opportunity inside line for Thyssen as they head towards turn number 3 on circuit. Graham Hill bend, and the position stays in Nick Thyssen's court. Tom-Erik Voll, best opportunity he's had so far, you'd feel, but just again being a little bit too aggressive in this situation, just slightly too aggressive.
The beauty of the MWT racing, anywhere you want to look, whether it's up front, in the middle, or back, we're looking at 15th position, there's all that fighting going on. We stay on this Ratchy battle as this thing is really heating up, as they're looking maybe to go 3 wide, moving on the outside now. That is the car of Schwenke.
Oh, this is dangerous to go 3 wide into this section. I've seen 2 wide ending catastrophic tears in series like AOR before. The famous incident between Kerry Norden and Govan Keeney, but still it holds itself into situation there. Ratji holds onto position, but they're allowing Richard Losper now into the fight because they are being too aggressive into corners like Sheen, as Schwenke gets a stunning run through the corner to the outside, maybe at Sterling's, has to back out of it, and Thyssen all of a sudden half a second clear. Train of 5 there at the front, still battling, and Voll will get another run through here.
They head down now the main straight. Ball just sitting about 2 car lengths back. Let's see if he takes a shot into Paddock. I don't think so, and I don't think you're never going to outbreak Sonny Kenshin into Druid. So if you're going to get a pass, I think it's going to be out of Clark.
It's got to be out of Clark. It's got to be into that Paddock Hill bend, turn number 1. You've got to make something happen. Or maybe, if you are a very, very brave man, you do it down into Hawthorne's bend, up and down the corner of Hawthorne Hill. And baby,
yeah, let's stay with this one here. Let's see, because I got a hunch that Eric the Red might make a stab.
Oh, Lauritsen, get out of town! Trying to make it on worth contact, and round goes Lauritsen. Wow, Alexander Lauritsen getting involved in one there. Contact through the right-hander, and that's a weird one because he made all the contact on the right-hand side, and then the spin went to the left, and clattering the Armco. Lauritsen's fantastic day is diminished.
That was Richard Worth that he got together with. Worth had the position on the outside. Money was there. Brian Holmes had a great view of that one.
And it's a trip to the bank then for Alexander Lauritsen after dealing with money. And that's a shame for him in that situation. It means that the front 4 are now 2 groups of 2. You got Money, Worth versus Holmes, and you've got Voll, the red against Catch Me If You Canchin, just in front of that. And now's the question of who pits, who decides to make those jumps, and who decides to make it early. Don't forget this 4-car train now, P4, 5, 6, or P5, 6, 7, 8 right now here. Decent on backwards.
And as weird as it sounds, that's another incident there, that Worth getting into it with Lawrence, and another incident where Worth is involved that breaks up the leading train.
It's the 3rd time this season that we've seen that happen. It's very weird, but money seems to have a lot of influence, shall we say, at the top of sim racing as things stand. And well, right now, Tom-Erik Voll hoping to stay with Sonny Kenshin, but this is the thing. It's okay staying with Kenshin in the early stages. You've got to out-pit stop maneuver him. You've got to out-strategize Kenshin. Nobody has been good enough to do that at this stage.
Now, here's the good news for Voll, though. He was pretty darn quick. He was only almost a 10th of a second slower than Kenshin, so he might have the ability to run with him. Right now, he's keeping him honest.
He is keeping him honest, and the birthday boy for tomorrow, Jonathan Boutel, in the 86 machine, looking to try and hold himself in station with Derek Holland, who he has managed to just keep behind. But this is a massive train right at the rear of the field behind Lee Dima, Sauer, Boutel, Holland, Della Hayes there, McDonald, all in that train, all searching for a way through. And these amateurs are looking for some very, very vital points. Vehicle goes off behind, that's Della Hayes.
Delahay's making his series debut. Not a good way to come on in. We're going to look at it right now as the replay is up. Don't be fooled by the first place there. He's taking the toe. That's why he's showing that.
Exactly, and the Frenchman, Anthony Delahaye, runs into a big slide, and off and out he will go in this event, and that will be frustrating for him, especially on what is one of the first runs we've seen this season actually out of him in the MX-5 World Tour. But right now, as things stand, when we're getting right onto it, Bay State Hammer, Ratji, looking at himself right now. He's had a big issue, has said Bay State Hammer. He's down on the lane, I do believe.
No, he took, I think this is a scheduled pit stop. He's the first of the front runners to actually bite. So he's come in. He was racing back there. You know, Schwenke and Losper had just caught him, so I think he wanted to get out of that mix. He'll come out, have to deal with some traffic. Well, actually, he comes out with a pretty clear track in front of him, so we can watch some hot laps. We'll see how that plays out in relationship to Schwenke and Losper when it's all said and done.
Yeah, and the battle for the lead, hotting up. Vol versus Kanchin, side by side. Kanchin on the inside, Vol trying it around the outside. I said that he would not be content with being in second, and that was the place where braver men make a move. But he is brave, but how brave? Not brave enough to get it around the outside of Sonny Kanchin. It will take a miracle worker to get past him in this run of hot form.
Back there yelling at him to mix it up is Richard Worth now. He's closed it down to about 7/10. Boy, Worth is coming. He's going to get back into this mix here pretty soon, but he needs those guys to start fighting, Kanchin and Vol, to help him get there.
Yeah, he needs a lot of help to get himself back into play. Money wants to be in the fight with the red, and catch me if you Kanchin if you can at this situation. And Sonny Kanchin still holding the advantage. None of the leading four dive down onto the lane. Schwenke, though, covers the Bay State Hammer. Losper covers the Bay State Hammer. Drivers in the middle of the pack then coming down onto the lane.
Yeah, this is Schwenke is in. We'll see if we can pick up Ratchy and see where he is. He is just working his way down into Clark's curve right now as he goes around Miata, who got out of the way for him.
Yeah, he's certainly done very well to get around Atsushi Maeda, so he's got Max Wright just in front, and well, the getaway for Schwenke, he's gone, but the Bay State Hammer, I think, is further gone, and the answer is going to be further gone for the Bay State Hammer. He has decimated Travis Schwenke, decimated even further Richard Losper, and there's not much you can say. Losper now in a whole heap of traffic.
Nobody knows fuel numbers better than Travis Schwenke. 15.3 seconds in the box, 13.4 for Rathke. That's a difference of almost 2 seconds of taking fuel. A lot of that could be random, some of that could be miscalculation.
It could be, but it all depends on Mr. Kanchin, and if he decides to take those 13 seconds worth of fuel instead. Vol just behind, hoping to still cause some issues, but it's just so good here from Sonny Kanchin. And it's worth noting as well here, tyre strategy is important. There are a lot of right-handers to only what is on this circuit. 3 lefts here, Sue.
Left-hand tires should be free. I would imagine everyone would take left-handers. Really would play a great advantage through Paddock and through Druids as well. So it seems like there should be an almost, not quite so much difference, but yeah, it seems like there's a ton of right-hand corners here.
There are a ton of right-hand corners on this circuit, so everyone will be very crucially waiting and being careful about what happens in this situation. Out of pit road comes the arrow. Trip Smith allows through Nick Thiessen to get back into play, but the group of 4, it is once again at the front, and Brian Holmes just sitting there waiting for those opportunities to make work in his favour. Right now, he's hoping to get good. Well, something else I've noted here as I've looked through this field today right now, Soup, is that I don't believe we have a Robert Hartley either.
No, that's going to have to be some no-show compensation for that, and that has opened the door, I think, for Holmes to be a little farther up than he would.
It may have done, but, you start mincing it with the big boys, you certainly have to prove your reputation. Tom Eric Vol down Hawthorne's Hill into Hawthorne's Bend, and, well, right now, you'd feel that actually he needs to make a move. Or maybe that he's thinking, when do I decide to box in? Do I box at the same time as him and see just how much he's going to break away? Or am I going to come down a lap earlier and try and force the issue comparatively to Sonny Kanchin? And well, into the right they come, this penultimate right-hander on circuit, that one there of the Sheen curve into Sterling's Bend, and well, a little bit issue there, we could see, for the driver of what was going to be Tom-Erik Voll. He does okay. Worth and Holmes waiting, but this is the thing. How long is it going to be before these leaders decide they want to start making moves? None of them come in again.
Yeah, and I know that Eric the Red is new to this series, but what you got to do right now, you do not want to let Kanchan have a free lap. Stay back in second, just follow him. When Sonny comes in, you come in, unless your tank is empty.
And Neil Bambi starting to struggle then as he went wide at the Sheen curve. He loses 2 positions, one of which was to Sarah Dove. Right now, who's going side by side with him, and Sarah Dove, she's doing a very good job to make the move. One was Jordi Fike, one was Gianni Quintelier. That's a big battle going on, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, etc. in your amateur category.
Yeah, Quintelier back there racing second. Of course, the leader of all the amateurs is Robert Valenga out there racing in 9th position right now. Quickly, let's jump ahead. I want to go to Marcelo Pajan and Patrick Fliss. These guys have been running together. Fliss is having a great run. He's up 8 spots and actually has a chance to get to the Italian driver in front of him. The Slovene machine is coming, and I'm talking about Patrick Fliss in 7th.
He is, but the issue is Fliss has already been overtaken today by Pajnan, who is making an even better recovery through the field here today. So you'd feel Pajnan is dragging the driver of Fliss back into this race.
That could be. They call, but Fliss 15th up to 7th. Nice run for him. Another driver we haven't mentioned much is the driver in 5th, Nick Thiessen, just kind of racing by himself, not fast enough to hang with the 4 guys up front. We'll see how long he can stay ahead of Pajan. Pajan's about 2.5 seconds back in 6th.
But the issue is he's in a battle with Ratji, who is P15, who has already made that stop. That's the sort of area that drivers are starting to look at right now as we start lap 16 of 26. Not long left to go, and the defensive line's being taken then by the driver of Sonny Kanchan. There's traffic into turn number 1 in the form of Lee Dima that they have to get by, and Sonny Kanchan knows that he's just got to get there to make the move, because there's no way Vol can send it down the inside with another vehicle there planting on the apex there is Lee Dima. That's about as good as he could possibly do in that situation.
Yeah, Vol had to take a little wire line through there. Didn't cost him as much time as he probably could have. Now with traffic coming into play, they got another to deal with. That's Cesare Rizzo.
That's Ursum around. Jerome Ursum around then at that corner, and he stopped just in front of Rizzo. No, they make contact. Big blind moment, and fortunately enough, Ursum out of the way of the leading 4.
Jeroen did everything he's supposed to. That was right in front of the leaders. Jeroen had the car stuck there. He stayed on the brakes. Rizzo, I don't know why he didn't see him. I guess he didn't see him.
It's uphill in that section, Soup. You got to be careful when it's uphill in that section. Now side by side, Vol on the outside then of the driver of Kanchan as they head in through these series of right-handers here. Westfield Bend stuck on the wrong side of the road there. Tom-Erik Vol unable to make things happen. Now here comes Worth straight down to the inside. Money makes his money's worth.
Those boys have got to be careful. They don't want to fight for second and lose touch with Kanchan, especially with pit stops coming really soon.
And that's the big worry. It was Kanchan having to lift after that incident, not sure where the vehicles were going to go, but he got away with one there with Tom-Erik Vol running too wide on the outside. Does anyone dive? No, they stay out for lap 17 of their event. Surely the tanks going to be running on fairy dust and a little bit less. Pajnan is off at Sterling's Bend though. Pajnan is off and was contact with Jeroen Ursum trying to make recoveries through the field. In fact, no, they both went off in sympathy there, Sue.
Yeah, that's unusual. 2 drivers on different situations going on there. But what happened, Pajan, it was Ursum who had that spin right in front. Boy, look at that. That was synchronized spinning.
It was, and I give them an 8 for that because you can't do it much better.
Pajan, that was just coming off the incident. Maybe that car was damaged that he had when he got together with Rizzo. So Pajan, or Ursum, I'm talking about Pajan now, another incident, he falls back. That's good news for Fliss, as he's now racing all by himself in 6th.
It is, and well, Patrick Fliss will now hope to try and bridge the gap back to Nick Thiessen. The gap between them, 2.4 seconds, and closing then, as he was half a second a lap quicker on that last run through, and that's going to mean that Nick Thiessen is going to be in the same sort of battles with Tom Ratji. Vehicle off though, I believe that was Richard Worth in towards Hawthorne's corner, so Richard Worth on the exit starting to get ragged.
Testing the extent of the envelope there as he was looking where the racing line really was. They have to be careful. Kanchan now has opened it up to 0.6 of a second. And they are working lap 17. It's got to be this lap or next lap, I believe.
It's ragged. It's right on the edge of the limits of the tank, and they can't afford to lose any more time when you get right down to it. And look at this. In comes Richard Worth, and he's the only man to blink. He had to blink. He was starting to lose it on the tyres. Now it's a case of Kanchin being given the gap. The 0.7 of a second. No, scrap that. The 1.5 second gap.
There it is. There it is. Now watch Sonny do what he does right now. He's broken the draft. This is where he can pick up some time. This is where Tom Eric Ball has to be perfect. He's got to, if he can't catch him, he's got to keep it relatively close.
If you can't Kanchin, then you can't Kanchin at all. I think that's what we're trying to establish in this situation, Sue.
That's it. We're still sitting in there and yet to roll. Boy, these stops are long. Worth has been in there for 25 seconds. Oh, a crusher.
A big, big crusher. Let's see if it was speeding down onto the lane. That could be one of the big things. In fact, he missed his box.
He had a really late exit coming into. I wonder if maybe he just picked it up right at the entry to pit lane where he didn't get in front in time.
Well, he was fine on the line. But the question is where he is right now and how quick he is right now. So you look at this situation, he's out and away. He's with Weilinger out on circuit, but he's lost so much time in the overall. It now comes down to the fact, incident though for the leaders. That's Mark King that's gone around the amateur in the 137 just in front of the leaders.
In the title influence machine, and this is one of the things when the leaders start to get into traffic, it's not just negotiate them, it's just human nature that if you're a back marker, you start seeing that blue flag, you start making mistakes. Look at King there in the title influence car, but he holds it, keeps it perfectly still, lets the leaders go by.
Well, 2 + 2 is 4, -1, that's 3 in the pits as things stand. And right now, Holmes, Vol, Kanchin, all hitting the box, all looking to get perfect. And Vol is very slow, hitting his marks, finding his marks. And that's going to mean that Sonny Kanchin will have the advantage. Maybe Brian Holmes as well in this situation. Fliss is in, Thyssen is in. They're all deciding to dive in. They've got no other alternative. Out goes Kanchin ahead of everybody else. There goes Vol, there goes Holmes. Holmes is broken, but Vol was not going to be completely broken. He's got the gap at about a second and a bit, 2 seconds or so. Oh, Vol's got to work doubly hard to get back to Kanchin now.
Yeah, he's going to have to do it the old-fashioned way. The gap, 2.3 seconds. He's going to have to do it on the track. The draft's not going to help him. Holmes also falls back almost 3 seconds behind Vol.
And that's a big, big loss. Nick Thiessen as well, now behind.
Let's go to fourth real quick. This is interesting. This is Dove, who has yet to pit, and Tom Ratchie, who has.
Well, so Sarah Dove in the debut race, she wants to prove her worth compared to compared to the Bay State Hammer. And the Hammer was trying to go around the outside, unable to make it happen. 140 against the 138.7. The difference is clear. 1.3 seconds. Draft available on the run now up Hawthorns Hill, down Hawthorns Hill towards Hawthorns Bend. Ratchie, the Bay State Hammer, will be swinging for the fences, and he swung for the fences and got the big home run.
Nice call. Remember, we talked about Ratchie in that battle with Schwenke and Thyssen and Losper. Well, they've all made their mistakes, all made their pits. Losper coming out the worst, way back in 9th position. Ratchie, the leader of all those guys, but his stop was really fast.
Yeah, it was really, really fast indeed. And look at Sarah Dove just being decimated by the likes of Thyssen and Schwenke. No chance of holding positions there in that situation. So we'll wait for Sarah Dove to dive down onto the lane. She's expected to come out maybe somewhere around about Quintelier and Bamba as she rounds the final couple of corners, diving down onto the lane. I don't know whether she's running out of fuel or not as she hits the line very, very nicely, but there's going to be a big dropping point right now in this one. Max Wright also down onto the lane, lap 19 of the event.
Dove and Wright, those last two amateurs to pit. That's everybody in now. We'll wait to see how they come out. Then we can run down where we cycled through.
The gap at the front is 2.1 seconds between Kanchin and Vol. Kanchin, 142.1. Vol, 141.7. 4/10 of a second on that last lap. There's not long to do it, but at 4/10 a lap, that's the pace that Vol is having to exacerbate to get to Kanchin. If he gets within a second, his life becomes easier.
In 11th spot, I think You can't stop the Slovene machine, but I think somebody pulled the plug on it as he had a speeding penalty, I believe. Remember, he was way up. He's racing now down in 11th position. He had a 26-second stop.
And oh, hello, Irunom in position 16. I didn't quite see you there either. So he's looking to make damage limitation happen, Sue.
Yeah, he came in, has made his stop. He's still 43 seconds behind the leaders, but well within striking distance. Maybe to even find himself, probably can't get to the top 10. Maybe. We'll see.
Well, I tell you what I'm going to give you right now. It's license to speak here, Sue. Backmarker report. Let's get it going.
Let's do it quick. We'll start with the last car on the lead lap. That is Mark King, racing back there in 27th position. You go up one spot. He's in a battle with George Dunkirk. That battle for 26. Those guys have had a pretty good race so far. You got to go well up to Lauren Murray. Murray, of course, doing very well in the Clean Driver Championship. Not so much today as he spent some time in the English Alfalfa. Up one more spot to Joe McDonald in 24th. He's got about 1 second before he gets up to the driver in 23rd, and that's Nicholas Galley. Galley racing in 23rd spot, about 3.5 seconds behind a veteran of the series, Derek Holland. Now Holland is in a mix. Look at this here as he's got this just in front of him. That's Sarah Dove. Let's stay on this for a minute. And there he goes around Ludwig Sawyer. This is a battle for 20th. Dove tucks in there. Dove's going to get that spot. Sawyer drops back a spot. And here comes Holland as well. Let's stay on this for just a minute until they get this sorted out. Then maybe we'll go back to the leaders. That Sawyer gets in there, and now they get it sorted out. So let's put Holland in 22nd, Sawyer in 21st. In 20th is Dove. Just ahead of them, Max Wright in 19th. I'll hustle through here. Move up to 18th, the Japanese driver Atsushi Mieda. He's trying to close in on the French driver, Jonathan Boutel, in 17th. And I think that'll do it for our Eagle Nest Tavern back marker salute.
I think it will certainly do it as well. I'm keeping my eye out on the leaders because another 2 tenths from the driver of Tom Eric Voll, and the red is starting to descend on Sonny Kanchin. And I think Tom Eric Voll has got to be careful because I think he's had a very scruffy lap this time by in comparison. I think he's dropped off a little bit of time if he's not too careful. Crosses the line. The gap was 1.9. The gap increases to 2.1. Vol is being maintained. Not much you can do about it. But look at the scrap now. P3, 4, 5, and 6. Holmes is being reeled in by the Bay State Hammer of Tom Ratchey, with Schwenke there, Thyssen there as well, all wanting to prove their own worths here. And look at Brian Holmes run wide at Paddock Hill.
It would not surprise me if Ratchey is trying to short shift a little bit. His stop was so fast.
It was so fast, but what that's going to mean is you look at Tom Ratchey right now, he's just got to get on to Brian Holmes and sit and wait.
Now, Holmes is totally different. Holmes had a 17-second stop. He should have no problem with fuel. Ratchey, though, remember, he's been chased down. He had a large, about 2-second lead on Schwenke and Thyssen. They have been able to gobble him up. Schwenke looking, maybe he's thinking podium right now.
Dude, question, how long was Kanchin stop in comparison to Vol?
Okay, this is interesting. Kanchin was in there for 13.6, Vol for 14.4. Holmes was the big loser, 17.1.
So what we can understand is Kanchin's lighter on the fuel. Vol maybe has a little bit more safety in the tank in comparison. So Kanchin now, I think Vol's pushing Kanchin here to run Kanchin out of gas.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I just click into Kanchin running out of fuel mode. It never seems to happen. Although he does finish, he'll admit to finishing with only a tenth of a liter left. So he cuts it close.
He does cut it close, but it's one of those, what you call an urban myth. You hope it happens. It never, ever seems to materialize. But we'll keep an eye on that one. But the battle going on now, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. I think Schwenke wants to make moves here. I think Schwenke wants to get inside that top 3 and really prove that he is not just there as a little bit of filler for the top 10. I think Travis Schwenke wants to fight here today.
Yeah, his 14th qualifying position must have been a fluke. Right now, he is all over the back of Ratchey. Thyssen, though, as well in the mix. Those guys have been racing, Schwenke and Thyssen have been racing together for most of the race. The driver who's fallen out, Richard Losper, racing back in 7th. He's about, oh my goodness, he's 10 seconds behind these guys.
10 seconds back in a world of his own. Richard Worth just behind him. Then you got Fliss Weilinger having a stunning drive here today. Right now in what is going to be 10th position overall. But look at the 111. Started 39th. And he's staring at 12th position right now. Pavel Herman is on a charge, and he's got Noel Lundberg just 2 seconds in front with 4 to go.
Yeah, he has been moving. And just to follow up, Malinga is our top amateur. Quintelier had some issues. He's second running right now in 13th overall.
Second in category, but doing well ahead of Jordi Fike, having a good job. But Tom-Erik Voll took 0.4 of a second out of Sonny Kanchin on that last lap, brought the gap down to 1.7, and I think he takes a little bit more out of it this time as well. So right now, Sonny Kanchin is having to run for the hills, but I'm not sure how comfortable Sonny Kanchin can really claim to be in this situation. Crosses the line, the gap down 1.4 seconds, and traffic, Danker and King, the next 2 drivers to deal with. Kanchin's being caught. There's 3 to go.
Yeah.
Voll's got to get within 1 second.
He's knocked off, since we've been talking about it, he's knocked off at least half a second.
At least half a second. At least that's working. Thyssen versus Schwenke. Schwenke defends into Druid's corner. Around the outside goes the Gathering of Tweaker's machine. But that's not going to work against Dory, because look at that. Schwenke will just keep swimming on in 5th position.
Holmes doing his very best. You can see him at the front of that pack, just leaving your screen right now in 3rd. He's in jeopardy of losing that podium.
He is certainly in quite a bit of jeopardy in this situation. He'll be hoping to just survive and get himself home to the end. Will the 58 of Brian Holmes. And well, it may be elementary, my dear Watson, but my dear Soup, it seems that it is not elementary at the front of the field.
Now, this is big news. Let's see how Mark King and George Dankirk handle this with the leaders coming in a battle. This is tough because they're fighting each other right now. This is a battle for 26, and these guys have been racing hard. And sometimes it's tough to give up the ghost for a 26th place finish when you have the leaders coming up.
It's really difficult, and it's going to be a balance for Kanchin, because he knows he's got to get past, but he knows that they want to be battling, and I think Kanchin's responded on this lap in comparison to Tom-Erik Voll. Voll's not had the best of laps here as they cross the line. 2 laps to go, and there's the advantage. Another 10th for Sonny Kanchin. That was a poor lap from Voll, 7/10 slower than what he's done previous, and now Sonny Kanchin hits the backlog.
Catches them at a pretty bad time, though, right at Druids. I don't think... Oh, there. We have the one driver, that's Dankirk, getting out of the way, so that's not going to slow him down too much. And I think the Kanchin should be okay. Maybe he can get to King before they get to Surtees. No, maybe not.
Maybe not at all, but maybe it's the run to Hawthorne that's going to be the better opportunity to get there. And Sonny Kanchin, well, he knows he's got to get there. He will take the draft. He'll be hoping that he lets him through right down at the end of this straight. And there's the let-off from Mark King, letting him go through. Tom-Erik Voll has not been held up either, but is running out of road to get back to Sonny Kanchin. It's not been a case of strategy. It's been better from Kanchin today. It's the fact that Tom-Erik Voll has not been able to claw hand over fist back in. Behind, though, here's the battle. Schwenke and Thyssen, Ratchi and Holmes, the podium still on Soup.
They'll have to deal. I think they're probably going to get to that King-Dankirk battle as well before the race is over. Meanwhile, the leader, it's down to 1.3. Voll's coming. I just think it's going to be a case of, I hate to use a cliche, too little, too late, but I think that's what's going to be.
It relies on error from Sonny Kanchin, a rare error from Sonny Kanchin. No corner profiles which truly match the corners that Sonny Kanchin finds the most difficult out here on circuit. The white flag will be waved. It is 1 lap to go. The gap 1.3 between the leading pair. Also the battle for the podium on Holmes, Ratchi, Schwenke, Thyssen. These 4 all hold the keys to the castle for the final spot, and only one of them is going to be able to do it. No moves into Paddock Hill Bend, but the run up towards Druids. The Bay State Hammer may send one banzai down the inside. Nobody able to make that move. Contact. There's a bit of a love tap then between the drivers of Ratchi and Brian Holmes. Holmes gets the warning shot, so now he knows he's got to go as quickly as he possibly can to break away. I'm here, I'm ready, I'm going to try and get it. In comparison, at the front of the field, Tom-Erik Voll's trying everything, but Kanchin is just that 1 second too far in the road, in the distance. The carrot is dangling, but the stick is just a little bit too far out of reach for Tom-Erik Eric Vole as the leader. Sonny Kanchin heads into the right-hander of Westfield Bend. Behind that, Brian Holmes still ahead of the Bay State Hammer. Schwenke still ahead of Nick Thyssen. An opportunity running out of time is what we have to say in this situation. A couple of corners to go. In fact, now it's just one corner to go for the man who was 4 in 5. The man who is 5 now in 6. The man who is clearly unstoppable in the World Tour. Sonny Kanchin drives to the line and takes a 5th win, a 2nd in a row, and Sonny Kanchin faultless from start to finish. The battle for 4th still on as Ratchi under pressure from Travis Schwenke. Holmes has got home to the line, and it was not elementary. It's a drag race though to the end as Schwenke defends himself away from Nick Thyssen. What a fantastic scrap soup from start to end.
Yeah, those guys, those 4, they finished in the order they were racing in. Not much going on behind. We can report that Errol Num has worked his way up to 13th. We're looking at Richard Losford coming across in 7th position.
And we're just seeing the final few drivers trying to make that charge back home to the line. And we still got battles like this one. Bamber, Fike, Lundberg trying to steal one away from Jordi Fike on the drive to the line. I think Noel Lundberg stole one on the drive to the line. Jordi Fike's got nothing left in the tank.
Bamber gets 14th. A good run, though, from Jordi. Up
Fantastic
6 spots
run
for him. Yep.
Yeah, fantastic run for Jordi Fike as the last couple of drivers, the likes of the Lorne Murrays and the Al Heatons and the Joe McDonalds, make their final charges. And what we've seen is some very good, clean racing today. Yes, we had the incident between Ursum and Rizzo, and I can't really blame Rizzo on a blind exit and not really being able to see what is arguably one of the most difficult areas on the circuit to see. But what has to be said is, what a fantastic race that we've had here today, Soup.
It was a good one, and once again, Sonny Kanchin, man. That makes, you called it, 5 out of 6. 5 wins. He's on his way at this pace, 10 wins for the entire season.
It will take a miracle to stop him, or it may take a bullet or something else to try and stop Sonny Kanchin. But for the moment, we are going to step aside here on the Global Sim Racing channel for just one quick moment. And when we come back, we'll have the Eagles Nest Tavern wrap-up, or as I like to say it, the post-race show, where we'll run down the entire finishing order, talk to some drivers, and then close up some shops. Back in a few. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Eagle's Nest Tavern wrap-up show. Green Valley Lake is the best-kept secret in the Southern California's San Bernardino Mountains. And while visiting, stop into the Eagle's Nest Tavern for a hot meal and a cold drink. They're on Facebook. And so, with the brilliant brands bowled out, it is time to run down the official classified results after the 6th round of the tour. And it was seemingly the same as you'd always see it when you're on the World Tour this season. Sonny Kanchin, 5 out of 6, but not plain sailing. Tom Erik Voll, the red, was closing himself down in 1.3 seconds over the line. He just ran out of road, getting to the end. Brian Holmes holds off a whole slew of vehicles, the Bay State Hammer, Tom Ratchey, Dory, Travis Schwenke, and Nick Thyssen there in 6th position. Richard Losber, GSRC's very own, finishing 7th overall with money. Richard Worth in 8th. Patrick Fliss, Slovene Machine, finishes 9th after starting 15th, but rounding out the top 10, our leading amateur. Brilliant job today from Robert Weilinger.
Weilinger had a great run. In 11th, Pavel Herman, another guy. How about this? 39th to 11th. Great run from him. I wish we could have seen more of that one, but we had such excitement, couldn't cover it all. Here's another amateur, Gianni Quintier. He's going to finish 2nd in the amateur 12th overall. Errol Num, he qualified 6th, has made it up a little bit, got bumped off, went all the way to the back, had to take an extra pit stop. He's going to come home with 13th. That's going to drop him in the points. Bambi, Neil Bamber in 14th position, that amateur there. Noel Lundberg in 15th, 16th, and 17th went to Jordy Fike, and another 2 amateurs there with Jonathan Boutel, just ahead of the Japanese driver Atsushi Mieda. 19th and 20th, Sarah Dove. She made it all the way up to 4th when she did a late pit stop. She comes home in 19th, ran out of fuel, I believe. And rounding out your top 20, another amateur, Derek Holland.
And the amateurs continue. Max Wright in Blackjack 21. Nicholas Gali, well, Gali, double deuce 22. Joe McDonald didn't have a farm, but he had 23rd position. I say it every single time. Ludwig Sauer, 24th. 25th to Law Murray, who would struggle today on the clean driving race that you could arguably say is going on. Mark King, 1 lap down now, 26th. Jörg Danker, 27th. Al Heaton will finish 28th with Trip the Arrow Smith, failing to finish this one here today in 29th position. And also Marcelo Pagnan missed the start completely, was caught with a bit of night nurse sleeping on the job. And well, 11 laps down, he ends up sleeping in the paddock.
Yeah, the clean drivers of Murray and Smith both having trouble today. 31st position, Lee Deemer ahead of Jeroen Ursum. Boy, it's going to be hard for Ursum to hang on to the amateur overlay now. Cesare Rizzo had to serve a suspension last round, had to come in this one. It's hard to get back in the good graces of the WMT stewards. He had to do a stop and go as part of the rules, but nevertheless, he comes home in 33rd. Steve Hefford, Billy Bob Wright behind him. Newcomer Alexander Delahaye comes home in, what would that be, 35th position. 36 for Hayes. Lauritsen in 37th, 38th, 39th, and 40th goes to Richard Stevenson, Michael Wright, and Scott Brazier, and that'll round out your field.
It will, and it's Anthony Delahaye there, just to correct.
Thank you. All I had was the initials. I had to take a guess at it. Thanks, man.
Good guess indeed. So first and foremost, we're going to jump in and get our race winner, Sonny Kanchin. Sonny, everything went perfect for you apart from one thing. You just missed out on the Grand Slam for the fastest lap.
Oh, did I? First of all, thanks, Jay. I don't know about that, but yeah, you're right. Everything went well. Maybe I'll work on that fast lap later. But yeah, that was a great race. I loved every bit of it, and it was great battling early on as well with Tom. And some of the guys didn't quite make it out of the grid. Especially Marcello and the guys I was looking forward to battle with, but yeah, unfortunate for them. But it was a great race overall. I couldn't ask for more.
You can't ask for more, indeed. And well, it seems in the early goings right now, you put yourself in a situation where I think you leave yourself with a lot to be desired in the battles, a lot of side-by-sides with Tom Erik Voll. And the trains continue to grow and then shrink, and then you see all these drivers that you're trying to lap starting to spin around you. Was it a case of trying to avoid a lot of landmines today?
Yes, early on this track, for sure. I mean, you want to not battle too much at the start so as to not let the train, the guys behind you catch up the other train. But it so happened like Tom had the run, but I I didn't want to give up my place, to be honest. So I knew I had the advantage going into the corner, so I took it up with him, and luckily, the guys behind him wouldn't make so much of distance, with us. It's how it went, and after a couple of laps, I found my rhythm again, and I was able to maintain the gap. So it was all about maintaining it, and I knew I had to wait until the pits, hang in there, not make any mistakes. I was just holding on to my wheel like dear life, and my foot were doing the work on the pedals, and my mind, I'm just trying to just force myself to be focused totally. Simple mistake, and I'll be gone. I didn't, luckily I didn't do the same mistake I did. I went off track farming in the last 2 rounds. Luckily, I didn't. Much to Soup's, he wouldn't want that.
I want.
Jake talked about it. It was, you mentioned it, man. So good for keeping it on the road.
Well, very well played for keeping it on the road. But of course, next week is not a championship round, but it is the Demolition Derby. It's a completely different way of playing the game. So, Sonny, how good are you at wrecking people? Yes? No? No? Oh, Sonny's not going to say anything about wrecking people. Wow. Well, before we let you go, Sonny, any shout-outs or sponsors?
Sorry, I was pressing the wrong microphone.
No, I think you were worried that iRacing was listening.
Like any other round, we'll take it real serious. The MS boys are in there with me in the team, the Asbury Motorsports, and can't wait to be in it to win it. We'll take it like any other race, and we'll be focused. So we're there to win it. So there you go.
Brilliant. Sonny Canchin, ever graceful as a race winner. So we'll say thank you very much for that. But Dory's decided to turn up Soup, and he was swimming into a top 5.
Let's go ahead. Can't fool me. I know Sonny didn't want to talk about wrecking people. He wants to stay on the good favors of everybody. Travis, let's go ahead. We're not going to talk about your race. We're going to start with where the whole thing started, qualifying. 14th. What's up with that?
Just a bad qualifying. I knew I should be able to pull 0.5, 0.3 somewhere in there, and I just messed up the first lap, and the second lap I was doing pretty well and just got a 1X, and it was kind of done. So I knew I had to be aggressive early then in the race to try to make up some of those spots.
Well, you did make them up. You got through some of those guys that were usually a little bit slower, but then you got into that train at the end. Passing here at Brands Hatch is so tough. You just couldn't find a way around those guys.
No, what great racing. There's I'm trying to set up Tom. I got Nick behind me, so anytime I set him up, I've got Nick taking a poke at me. So, very hard. I had to find the right time, and really it was waiting for either pressuring Tom into a mistake or, he makes the move on Brian in front of him that creates the opportunity, and nothing really happened. I just kept under pressure and not leave a door open for Nick because he would have been right there.
We watched it. I thought you were the fastest car of the 4 of them, but you just never had the opportunity to get to that podium. Nevertheless, I guess you got to consider 5th place when you started so far back a pretty good day.
Yeah, that was. I'm pretty happy with that. So really good to get up there and have a great race with people. That's what it's about anyway. So.
All right, well, have some fun when we go to the demo derby. That'll be fun. Find yourself a good teammate and get a crown there.
Sounds great.
All right, Travis Swanke, 5th place finisher today. Jake.
Well, I have found a certain person that is someone that I do like a lot. Mr. GSRC himself. Richard Losper, how are you doing, buddy?
Hello, Jake. Hello, guys. Long time no speak to you guys. How are you?
Oh, well, we're doing fine, but more importantly, how are you doing today? Position number 7 after starting 9th, +2.
Yeah, it's a bit of a surprise. I didn't expect to finish in front of guys like Eero Nom, Pavel Herman, and so on, but that's just the way the cards fell.
Sometimes it is the way that cards fall, but talk us through your opening sections of this race, because you found yourself in a really good position in the early battles, and somehow it seemed that you managed to find a pocket of air after the stops.
Yeah, in the early laps, in front of me there was Marcello Pajan and Eero Nom and a bunch of other guys. Eero jumped the start. I saw him jump the start and I thought, he's gone. And then Marcello missed the gear. I was directly behind Marcello, so I just stayed behind him. And then Travis came up behind me. Of course, Travis being a teammate and he's got chances in this championship. I'm not, because I only race occasionally. I let him through and then I followed him around till the pit stops. And Thanks to Travis, I believe, is where I stayed in front of a lot of the other guys.
Well, a very good job for you today. And P7 heading into the Demolition Derby, you have to feel like you are walking on air.
Well, I feel pretty good about this result, that's for sure.
Well, you certainly do. Before we let you go, Richard, any shout-outs or sponsors?
I'm one of the main sponsors here, so I'll shout out to myself, I think.
Brilliant. Richard lost forever the entertainer in position number 7. We'll thank him very much for joining us, of course. One of the commentators that we get there in Soup, guess what? It's Sarah Dove.
Sarah, long time no talk. Seems like we just talked a few this yesterday, and here you are back again. Congratulations on joining the MWT.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a really long time.
You ran the car really long. You went a lap farther than anybody else. Did you get it to the pit lane?
The car started sputtering in the last corner, and then all the way down the pit lane, and I got to the pit box, but I overshot it a bit, and then because I had no fuel, it wouldn't let me reverse, so I had to take a tow.
A tow of 3 feet backwards. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and it didn't go very well.
Well, nevertheless, you finished 4 spots ahead where you started. What's your schedule like on Sundays? You going to be able to race with us a few more times this season?
I should be able to, yeah. Hopefully.
Oh, I'm sorry, on Saturdays. I apologize. It was Friday, today is Saturday. So many races for me, I forgot. Well, congratulations on a good race today. Which do you like better? I know we see it in the Formula Renault. What is your car of choice, Sarah? What do you like? What's your, of all the cars on iRacing?
My favorite car in iRacing is the Aston Martin GT1.
Yes. That's a good one.
Nobody ever drives it, so.
I understand. Well, good. I'm hope to see you more often. Congratulations on your debut race. Way to go.
Thank you.
Sarah Dove, 19th, what was she today? 19th overall, a good performance, even though she had to take a tow about 4 feet backwards into her stall.
Well, firstly, iRacing needs to get mechanics to actually push a vehicle backwards, I
know.
think, is one of the things. And the other thing is, the Aston Martin GT1 suddenly just got 12 new members into its community, so that's another thing. So, on this note, I believe that we have just about run our course here on the Global Sim Racing channel. So we got to do our little shout outs and sponsors and our own thanks here at the Global Sim Racing channel. First and foremost, we'd like to thank everybody at the Quality Racing Sim-dicate for organising this series and contracting with GSRC to broadcast it. Thanks also have to go, quite naturally, to the main title sponsor of Heusinkveld. Affordable simulator software and hardware are thought to be of limited use for race teams and drivers, but their simulation solutions bring professional results within reach for any team or driver without having to compromise on realism or engineering value. They offer a broad array of products and services such as advanced vehicle simulation software and hardware. They are able to simulate any combination of race car and track, including a full-fledged cockpit environment with unparalleled realism. Heusinkveld solutions are currently being used by professional teams and drivers in Formula Ford, GP3, GP2, and Formula 1. Now, these products are available for any professional team or driver looking for an edge in racing. Be a better race car driver and get in touch today. Thanks also go to Tidal Influence and Eagle's Nest Tavern. The folks over there will give a massive shout outs and thank yous too. And also to all the company's equipment and software that you see on screen right now that we use on our broadcast. And the original music that you've heard today is thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde. See the screen for how to contact each of them.
The Heusinkveld MX-5 World Tour returns in a fashion in 1 week. And that's for the exhibition race, the Demo Derby. This is going to be November 18th. It's going to be from Summit Point. No points involved in the championship. If you haven't seen one of these, you want to check in. It's a lot of fun. There's strategy. It's a combination of road racing and roller derby. There are blockers and jammers and a lot of strategy that goes on. It's a blast to watch. It's a blast to commentate. GSRC will be there. We hope you join us. We'd like to thank, if you'd like to find out more about GSRC, your best bet is globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel.
I didn't know that Lionheart driver Adam Blocker was going to be here. Oh, that was a nice surprise. But finally, on behalf of the man on my right, Bill Subzan, the man behind the desk, our director Joe Peake, and the man who some say has a garage at home that is shaped like a rabbit for sponsorship reasons, so that he can't let out the... Let's get some words out. So he can't let the cars out of the brand's hutch. Our camera guru, Dougie Beard. I'd like to thank you all for watching, so until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.